Hi everyone, this is Miss Noris, and this video is to my 7th form students. So in this video we are going to review some grammar rules that we studied in the first and the second terms. So I hope you enjoy the video. So in this video we are going to review the 3 tenses that we studied. So the first tense is the simple present, the second is the present progressive, and the last tense is the simple past. So we're going to review the simple present, then the present progressive, and finally the simple past. Okay, let's start now with the simple present. When do we use the simple present? So how do I know that I am going to use the simple present? So, we use the simple present to express a general truth. Okay, what is a general truth? What do we mean by a general truth? So, a general truth is something that is always true. Okay, it is a fact, and we are going to see examples later. So, then we use the simple present to express a habit. What is a habit? What do we mean by a habit? Okay, so a habit is something that you do every day, or is something that you do every week, is something that you do every year. Okay, so this is a habit. We use also the simple present to express a permanent situation. What do we mean by a permanent situation? A permanent situation is a situation that lasts for a long period. Okay, so this is a permanent situation. Then we use the simple present with adverbs of frequency. Okay, what are the adverbs of frequency? Always, sometimes, usually, never. These are adverbs of frequency. Okay? Now, the rule of the simple present. What is the rule? How do we use the simple present? So, with I, you, we, they, we add the verb. I, you, we, they, plus verb. Okay? Let's take an example. I play, you play, we play, they play. Okay? Now, with he, she, it, we add the verb, we add an S to the verb. Let's take an example. He plays, she plays, it plays. Okay, so always with he, she, it, we add an S to the verb. This is really important. Okay, with he, she, it, we add the verb and we add an S to the verb. So we say, I play, he plays, you play, she plays. Okay, this is really important. Now, let's have another example. So, we need food to grow. So here we have the verb to need. Okay? The verb to need. Here we used the simple present. But why did we use the simple present here? So here the sentence expresses a general truth. Okay? We need food to grow. Okay, it is true. We need food to grow. Without food, we cannot grow. So the sentence is true. So that's why we used the simple present, and we call it a general truth. Okay, so this is what we mean by a general truth. The second sentence now. I go to school every day. This is a habit. Okay, because here we have every day. So you go to school every day. Or I can say here, for example, I wash my face every day. I brush my teeth before going to sleep. So this is a habit. This is something that you do every day. The last sentence now is he lives in Tunisia. So this sentence expresses a permanent situation. What do we mean by the sentence? He lives in Tunisia. So this is a permanent situation. This is something that lasts for a long period, okay? Now, here the sentence, they always listen to their parents, okay? Here we used the simple present. And why here did we use the simple present? Here we have the adverb of frequency, always. So we have always, so we used the simple present. Okay, they always listen to their parents. Now, let's have an exercise. Put the verbs in the simple present. So, he, verb to play, in the garden every day. He plays. Here we added an S to the verb because we have the pronoun he. And as we saw in the rule, with he, we add an S to the verb. So, he plays in the garden every day. The second sentence, she, verb to be, a pupil. So she is a pupil. Then they travel every year. So with they, we just add the verb. We don't change anything. So they travel every year. The last sentence, I help my mother every Sunday. With I, we just add the verb. We don't add an S to the verb. We don't change anything. So I help my mother every Sunday. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to see how do we use the simple present in the affirmative form, in the negative form, and in the interrogative form. Okay, so in the affirmative form, with I, you, we, they, we just put the verb, and with he, she, it, we add an S to the verb. Now in the negative form, I, you, we, they plus don't plus verb. For example, if I have I play, in the negative form, the sentence becomes I don't play. Okay? Now, he, she, it plus doesn't plus verb. For example, in the affirmative form, I have he plays. In the negative form, the sentence becomes he doesn't play. Okay? So this is the difference between the affirmative form and the negative form. Okay, in the negative form with I, you, we, they, we add don't and then we put the verb, and with he, she, it, we add doesn't, then we put the verb. Now, in the interrogative form, do plus I, you, they, we plus verb, and does with he, she, it plus verb. For example, I have I play. In the interrogative form, do I play? If I have you play. In the interrogative form, it becomes do you play? Let's have another example. They play. Do they play? Okay? Now, we said here does plus he, she, it, and plus verb. He plays. This is in the affirmative form. Now, in the interrogative form, the sentence becomes does he play? Okay, this is a question now. Does he play? She plays. Now, in the interrogative form, it becomes does she play? Okay, so this is really important, guys. Okay, so in the affirmative form with I, you, we, they, we just put the verb. In the negative form, I, you, we, they plus don't plus verb, and in the interrogative form, do plus I, you, they, we plus verb. With he, she, it, in the affirmative form, we just add an S to the verb. In the negative form, he, she, it plus doesn't plus verb. Okay, sorry. And in the interrogative form, does plus he, she, it plus verb. Okay, we're going to see more examples so that you understand. Here, let's have an example. So, in the affirmative form, he travels every year. Okay, this sentence is in the affirmative form. We added an S here to the verb to travel because we have the pronoun he. And now, in the negative form, he doesn't travel every year. Okay, so here we add doesn't travel. Now, in the interrogative form, the sentence becomes does he travel every year? Okay, let's have another example. So this is the same verb but with the pronoun they. So in the affirmative form, we say they travel every year. In the negative form, we add don't. They don't travel every year. And in the interrogative form, we say, do they travel every year? Okay, so this is the difference between the affirmative form, the negative form, and the interrogative form. Okay? So now, verbs ending with O, SH, CH, S, X. So, how do we conjugate these verbs with he, she, it? So, with he, she, it, we add ES to these verbs. We don't add only an S. Okay, let's have an example so that you understand. For example, to go, we say he goes and we add ES. Let's have another example. To watch. So, he watches. To wash. He washes. Okay, we add ES. To miss. He misses. To relax. He relaxes. We add ES. Okay? So, verbs ending with O, SH, CH, S, and X. We add ES to these verbs. Okay, now let's move on to the simple past. So, in the simple past, we have two types of verbs. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. For the regular verbs, we add ed to the verb. For example, play becomes played, work becomes worked, wash becomes washed, watch becomes watched. Okay, this is for the regular verbs. Now for the irregular verbs, the verb changes. For example, eat in the simple past becomes ate. Have in the simple past becomes had. Verb to be in the past becomes was or were. Meet becomes met. Okay? Now, when do we use the simple past? We use the simple past with yesterday, last week, last month, last year. So, we use the simple past to talk about actions that happened before now. Yesterday, last week, last month, last year. Okay, let's have an example. Yesterday, I played with my sister. Let's have another example. Last week, I met my friends. So this is the verb to meet in the past. Last week, I met my friends. Okay? Now, this is an exercise, so put the verbs in the simple past. Last year, I, the verb to go, to England on holiday. So, what is the answer? Last year, I went to England on holiday. Okay? So, here, the verb to go in the past, in the simple past, becomes went. I went to England on holiday. The second sentence, I visit lots of places. So, visit is a regular verb, so we just add ed to the verb, so the sentence becomes I visited lots of places. The next one, in the mornings we walk in the streets of London. So, the sentence becomes, in the mornings we walked in the streets of London. Okay, so we added here ed to the verb. Then, the weather, verb to be, fine. So, the weather was fine. Okay? Now, let's see how do we make sentences in the affirmative form, in the negative form, and in the interrogative form. So, in the affirmative form, subject plus verb. I played with my sister. I is the subject, played the verb, and you complete the sentence. So, now in the negative form, subject plus did not plus verb in the infinitive. So in the negative form, we add did not and we put the verb in the infinitive. Let's have an example. I did not play with my sister. Okay, we don't say I did not played with my sister. Okay, after did not, we put the verb in the infinitive. Okay, I did not play with my sister. Then in the interrogative form, so how do we make the question? Did plus subject plus verb in the infinitive. Did I play with my sister? Okay, so did plus subject plus verb in the infinitive. Okay, now let's have an example. So in the affirmative form, she went to school yesterday. In the negative, we add did not and we put the verb in the infinitive. The sentence becomes she did not go to school yesterday. Okay, so went is the verb to go in the simple past. That's why we said she did not go to school yesterday. Now in the interrogative form, did she go to school yesterday? Okay. Now, small remark. So the verb to be in the simple past. Okay, how do we conjugate the verb to be in the simple past? With I, he, she, it was. We say I was, he was, she was, it was. Then you, we, they were, you were, we were, they were. Okay. Now, the verb to be in the negative form. So, was becomes was not or wasn't. Okay? So, was becomes was not or wasn't. Were becomes were not or weren't. Let's have an example. She was at home. In the negative form, the sentence becomes she wasn't at home. Now, in the interrogative form, was she at home? So in the interrogative form, we make an inversion between the subject and the verb to be. Was she at home? Okay. Now, let's have an example with were. You were at home. In the negative form, the sentence becomes you were not at home. Or we can say you weren't at home. Now, in the interrogative form, we make an inversion between the subject and the verb. So the sentence becomes, were you at home? Okay, so the verb to be, this is how we conjugate the verb to be in the simple past, in the affirmative form, in the negative form, and in the interrogative form. Okay, now these are some examples of some irregular verbs. So how do we conjugate them in the past tense and their negative form? So the verb to be in the simple past becomes was or were. In the negative, was not, were not. Verb to have in the simple past, had. In the negative form, did not have. Verb to do in the simple past, did. The negative form, did not do. Verb to say in the simple past, said. The negative form, did not say. Verb to get in the simple past is got, and in the negative form, did not get. Verb to make in the simple past is made, and the negative form, did not make. Verb to go in the simple past, went, and the negative form is did not go. For example, I say, yesterday I went to school. In the negative form, the sentence becomes, yesterday I did not go to school. Now, verb to take in the simple past is took, and the negative form is did not take. Verb to see and the simple past is saw, and the negative form is did not see. For example, I say, yesterday I saw my friends, or last week I saw my friends. So the negative form, the sentence becomes, last week I did not see my friends. Okay, now the verb to come, and the simple past is came, and the negative form becomes did not come. Okay, so these are some examples. Okay, thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please text me.